Welcome back, everyone. The video you're about to watch is part of a live stream series that I do on Twitch where I teach people how to build an Android app from start to finish by building a task management application. I've removed the episode numbers from the videos because it's designed that each one can be consumed individually. Each week, I pick a particular topic or feature and focus on just that for the live stream. If you are interested in watching the full playlist, check out the links in the description below. But if you just found this one and it intrigues you, I hope you enjoy it and let me know what you think. Happy Wednesday, everyone. Welcome back. I hope you all had a great week. I feel like this week flew by for me, at least from the last time I was streaming. Maybe not everyone else felt that, but I definitely had a very fast week. Um, can you hear me? Okay, yes, you can. My mixer was confusing me. Um, Yeah, welcome back. We're going to do some more stuff on the TOA application tonight. Not really sure what we're going to do. Once again, maybe just winging it. Um, I was thinking about spending a little bit of time maybe going through the issues that are in the repo and seeing if there's stuff we could pick to work on, but also playing some catch up on some of the ideas that we've thought about. Um, what else did I want to talk about though? I wanted to share with y'all. If you do exclamation point new vid in chat, you'll get a link to a YouTube video I put out on Sunday called "The Imposter's Guide to Dependency Injection." This was actually like an idea that I had like 2 days prior. Um, just had this idea for video, wrote down some notes, spent Sunday evening. Oh, I put it out on Monday because I spent Sunday evening recording it, but I'm really happy with it. I've got a lot of really great feedback. The point of the video was to have the same energy as a lot of my streams, where I try to take what some people think is a really complicated topic that can be like very like fear inducing and try to break it down into small incremental steps and explain like the core fundamentals about why dependency injection exists and why we should care about it. I'm really happy with how it turned out. I have been asking around if you have any ideas of similar topics that you think are like anxiety inducing or whatever reason you think they're super complex that you think could be presented in a simpler fashion. I'm always happy to hear those. Some big ones that I've heard a few times already are unit testing and like work manager as one of the libraries. So I wrote those down. Hopefully, I'll work on those in the future. I think unit testing would be a really good one. Um, but yeah, just happy to hear your thoughts. If you can check out that video, it would mean a lot to me. Spent a lot of time on it. I'm really happy with how it turned out. Um, but yeah, so let's talk about stuff that we could do today. Um, what we did last week, just a little recap for all of you. So for a while now, we've had the add task functionality working. Um, so we can put in like what we want to do. We could pick a date for it. We can submit. Oh, and we also made it so that we can filter tasks by date. So the reason it didn't show up here is because I set the scheduled date as like the 29th, I think. So if I go forward a few days, now I can see the task is there. So that was what we did last week. We made the filtering tasks by date. That was a ton of fun. If you missed that and you want to see some of the resources, if you go to the GitHub repo, you can look at the stream history file, and there's some notes. I think it's not updated with links to last week's pull request, um, but I will get those together tonight. I'll make sure that everything is up to date by tomorrow. Um, yeah, so here are some thoughts I had on what we could do tonight, and maybe I'll set up a poll again because that was a fun way to get some advice. So let's do that. I'm gonna set up a poll again because I had a few ideas, and I'll walk you through all them before I write them. So there was this. There was okay. So I'm gonna start a poll, and then while it's running, we'll talk about it. So one of my ideas was working on like an empty state for a given date. Hey CP, welcome back. So if I select a date where I don't have any tasks to work on, the screen is just empty. So that's one idea is we should throw like some text on the screen, maybe an icon, and say like, hey, um, you don't have any tasks, click the button below to add one. Doesn't have to be super fancy, but we could have an empty state in place. Um, the other one was if we look at tasks, we had put these buttons on here for like reschedule, which would be like, I can't do this task today, so I want to do it a different day. So I could click this and I would see like a new date could come up. Or like a done button, which would mark it as complete and ideally maybe remove it from the row. So those were kind of my three ideas. I made a poll that if you're interested, you could put stuff in there. I should have, well, I made it 3 minutes, which is kind of long. But if you see something else that anyone feels strongly about, you can also feel free to recommend it in chat. Um, I think we'll probably start with whatever chat votes on, but there's a chance we could do the empty state as well as one of the other two things because I think it would really just be let's throw some text on the screen that says, hey, like, click the button, or maybe text and an icon would make the empty state look pretty good. I want to put something here so that it's not blank and staring at us. There is a poll about, well, yes, start with, and then I am only going to stream only. I have like a 3 hour cap tonight. I need to be done by 10. Chances are none of these things will take us 3 hours, but you know how this stream goes. Once we start fighting over naming conventions and my brain goes down all these rabbit holes along the way, sometimes it takes me 3 hours to add a text component. No, I think it's fine. I think empty state's a small one that we could definitely do later. Um, let's see what Chad is thinking about. I should check that I have all of these recorded in the issues, actually. I believe I do. We have empty state, we have complete a task. I do not have a ticket specified for rescheduling, so let me do that real quick. Oops. Let's do new issue. Let's do allow user to reschedule a task. I think this one could be an interesting one because of just trying to think about what the UI for this would look like. Um, this will be me. Projects, this can go into task management. Because I think there's a couple different ways we could handle like the reschedule flow. Oh, so this was 50-50. Um, the animation when you switch date, that's also something we could look at. Let me record that. Add an animation when user changes the selected date. That would be cool. We could put this in like design branding. We'll record that idea. Um, all right, chat's 50-50. So what I think is why don't we try to knock out the marking tasks as completed? Because I actually think we could do this pretty quickly. Um, so what we are going to add, which leads to another thing we'll have to think about in the future. But what we'll add is when I click done, this task should be completed and removed from the list. Now what I'm worried we could think about is, well, maybe I want to see the completed tasks. So like, I know that like they were completed. So maybe that's actually another thing I should record eventually. Show list of completed tasks on each date. Um, because it would make no sense for me to complete all of my tasks and then see an empty state. Like, that doesn't make sense. So, below the list of required tasks, we should show any that have been completed. So, maybe we'll work on these two things. Actually, now that I'm also thinking about that task, I feel like this could lead to some interesting functionality we could work on today. But let's start by being able to mark them as complete. So let me find that issue. Okay, this is number 17. Okay, so let's set up a branch here. We'll do TOA 17 and we'll say complete task. So this is a fun one. And it could be interesting to think about this idea from an architecture point of view a little bit. So let's talk about how we would implement this if we were to do it right now. So let me turn on. No, I want to keep my notifications open in case anyone needs me. Let's look at our task list screen real quick. And just to recap, a piece of code that's really important here is this one. So we have this content, this task list content is everything you see on the screen. It's the list of tasks, it's the progress bar, the toolbar with the date on it. That's everything inside task list content. And it has this parameter for, what should we do when the done button is clicked? And this actually gives me the task that was clicked. So do something about this task. So the reason I brought up an interesting architecture question is the way I wrote this actually differs a little bit from the new Android architecture docs on handling clicks within lists, which I thought was interesting. If you want to learn more about that, I can find the docs on UI events. They did something interesting where they put the click listener, instead of being passed into the content, it was like on the list item itself. Um, and that cleaned up a lot of code actually, but I think because this is already written this way, I think I'm just going to keep it like this. So we already have um, the infrastructure hooked up to handle when the user clicks a task. Like, let me show you just to prove that this is working. We're going to do log.d, and we're just going to say click task. And I'm going to look at the logcat to make sure that when I run this, I'm actually handling the click listener appropriately. But ideally, that is happening. And so all we need to do is then put some code in here that modifies our task accordingly and stores it, updates it, etc. So we're going to click done on this task, and we can see that yes, I got a clicked task with all the information. Cool, so let's run with this. What do we need to do? Well, when the click happens, I need to let the view model know. So let's put a function in our view model and say, on done button clicked, and then this consumes a task that was clicked. And we'll do something here. But what we'll do is on the screen, we can say every time that happens, we want to call on done button clicked inside our view model. So that's it. I mean, that's not it to hook it up to our UI. It's just that we're lucky that when we built the screens, we already added all these listeners. So it was really easy for us to do this. But the next part is thinking about what we do here. And really, this should go in some sort of use case. The way we have this get tasks for date use case, we should have a use case for marking a task as completed. So let's add that. Let's go into our task list domain folder, use cases, and let's make a new interface here. And, oh wait, we made one? When did we do this? Huh, interesting. So apparently I'm not referencing it anywhere because it's grayed out. Apparently at some point in the past we talked about this idea and I made the use case already. Um, let's make the implementation because that's a thing we will need. Prod mark task as complete use case. Let's be. So this does need to take in our repository, task list repository. And then we're going to have our invoke function. And let's add some docs here. So a concrete implementation of mark task as complete use case, which will modify the task and update it inside our task list repository. Nice. So, task list repository is a weird name. Yeah, I forgot why I didn't call it task repository. I think I don't remember why I did this. Um, let's look at the. Yeah, I guess I should probably just call it task repository. Okay, let me finish writing this out and then we'll do a refactor. Because I think that's a fair naming convention. I thought about that in the past. Um, okay, but um, well, we got a lot going on here. First of all, our task needs to have a completed property. So this will be completed equals false. Um, we'll get rid of the default argument. So we'll say completed task is task.copy, completed equals true. So, and then we'll do task list repository dot. Did I make an update task? I didn't make an update task. All right, we've got a couple things, but we're gonna do. We'll basically say return completed task. Whoops. Task list repository dot update task. All right, let's get some of this working. Let's create a suspend function. Oh wait, why did I do this? I made mark as complete on the repository. And I feel like this is, I don't know if I like this on the repository itself. To me, the repository should just fetch and store data. It shouldn't do anything that is like business logic-y. And I think even though it's just saying change this field, I feel like that's kind of business logic-y. I feel like this should be update task. Task and updates the backing data set for this task, the task with the same ID. That's what we'll say is going on here. Okay, so now our use case is accurate, and our repository is a little accurate. So let's look at the room implementation. So this is nice, actually. Right now, this is not yet implemented. So how do we do this? Well, we need task DAO dot update task. And then we'll do task.to persistable task. We'll need to add that method onto our DAO, our room database access object. We'll do that in a second. We're just going to assume success here. That's fine for now. I feel like we'll need to change in the future. But let's go to our task DAO. And let's add the update. And fun update task. Have a good night. Thank you for stopping by, though. I will let you know when the YouTube video is out there if you want to catch the recording. Okay, so now that gets passed to our room database. We need to update our mapping from a task to a persistable task. So we also need the persistable task to have a completed Boolean. This will break our room database. I'm just going to delete it and start over. I'm not going to worry about migrations again. completed will be this dot completed. And same thing mapping the other way. Um, will that do it? That might do it. Well, that does some of the data layer stuff. Now we need to hook that up. Um, I could do auto migrations, but see, so here's why I don't do that on this stream. Is if we look at like our room database, or what is it called? Hold on. So I could do an auto migration, especially for this column. It would be no big deal. But the thing is, like, this is an in development project where I'm probably going to make other database changes before I like release it. And so, what's the benefit of putting an app to the Play Store that's version 10 with all these auto migrations where I'm the only user? Um, I suppose in theory someone could have forked my GitHub project and is using it already to help themselves, but I don't think that's true yet. Um, so that's kind of my thought process. Eventually, yes, we'll need to be more conscious about that data change. Um, okay, we've updated the data layer, so we need to hook this up into our view model. So let's also include um, mark task as complete use case. And so what we'll do is when the done button is clicked, let's launch a coroutine and we'll say mark task as complete use case dot invoke task. And I know the invoke is optional, and in other parts of the app I don't use it, but I'm moving towards this idea of using it because I like that it's just a little more explicit. I think it reads nicer when we say like, "Hey, we're doing this thing." Um, so will that do it? That might do it. So let's um, we're going to clear app data, and then we're going to run this again. So when we run this, hopefully what we see is, I guess what would happen is the task would just like disappear because, like I said, I don't have a completed tasks section yet. Um, ah, let's figure out some stuff. So this is when we're creating a task. Completed would be false here. Um, this is for task list preview. We'll also just say completed equals false. Um, another compose preview, I think. So there's a lot to do here. I know some of you are probably thinking, well, why didn't I just use that default argument that I thought about earlier? Like, if I had done a default argument of false here, I would not have needed to update any of the code that we just looked at. And that's valid. But I think by not using default arguments, I'm forcing myself to make sure that anywhere I use this domain model, it is created correctly. And I don't have to risk forgetting to add an argument that I actually needed to. I think there are times when I would still use default arguments, maybe for like other scenarios or in tests, but I think I like having my domain models not have default arguments because then it forces me to just make sure I add everything. This is a dagger error because we've added a use case, but we did not tell Hilt how to create it, so let's do that. This is going to be another binds. We're going to do bind mark task as complete use case. Um, prod mark task as complete use case. Oops. Okay, now let's run it again. We'll get there. Wait, why did that fail? Ah, because I told it how to create the use case, But on the actual implementation, I also need the at inject annotation. Um, Hilt definitely has less boilerplate than like a do-it-yourself approach, but it still feels kind of annoying to have to write this inject everywhere. It's a small thing, but it's kind of annoying. I think this is working. We're also using Android Studio Bumblebee today, which hit stable yesterday, if you haven't seen that. Um, there's some new stuff, not a ton that I knew we could go over today, but if you saw something interesting in the release notes that you want to look at together, we can. Okay, so let's make a new task. So what I predict will happen, actually, ha, let's, yeah, I use Coin at work, and I really like it a lot. Before I press the done button, let's talk about this because my prediction for what would happen is no longer correct, or I'm changing my prediction because of something else. Is it not? It can't pick up on the process. There we go. But anyways, let's talk about it. So when I press this, nothing changes. And that was kind of to be expected. I thought that it was going to remove itself completely, but it did not. Um, but let's just look at this real quick. So the good thing is we could see in the database that completed, this is a 1, which basically means true. Room stores booleans as integers that are 0 for false and 1 for true. So we can see that it was marked as completed, but it still appears on the UI. Let's talk about why this is happening. So I'm going to commit what we've done so far. That's actually good progress. Marking a task as completed on done button clicked. So while this is running, basically the spoiler alert is um, hmm, I think a method mark is complete in the task entity is better. I'm not sure I follow. Like my task entity, you mean like this class? To me, this should be just a data class. It shouldn't do anything. Um, I suppose we could make a helper function that like does the copy method for me. Would you do it on the task or you can see the operations of the entity? I kind of understand what you're saying. That's seeing the operations on it. Um, but I'm also giving. I guess what I was confused is because I'm not really. So this is also supposed to be immutable. So I'm not really supposed to be like altering it. What the copy method does is it returns a whole new thing, which I guess is like we're splitting hairs and that's like semantics. But um, yeah. So would you write it somehow like this? Um, Mark is completed. Return. Hold on. What does that word mean? Because I only know anemic as to mean not having iron, but I don't know what it means in this context. um, because all the operations of the task hidden in the repo or in the use case. Yeah, that makes sense. But I don't know. Personally, I like having my domain models be super small like this. And the other thing to consider is like, and this could change, but the question being, would I ever call this elsewhere from a different use case? And if the answer to that is no, then why am I putting it here in this file? and not in the file that's going to use it. And that's kind of my thought right now. That could change for sure, but I think I'll keep it here for now. But I like the idea. I'll keep that in mind as we write more use cases if I think that should change. Um, but going back to the app inspector real quick before I lose the thought. So it's marked as completed. The UI didn't update, and that's actually because of how um, our like get tasks for date use case works. So this fetches. Oh, we were also going to rename this repository. I'm going to do that right now. This is used in a lot of places. Um, okay, renaming to task repository. But we're basically fetching all tasks, regardless of their completed status. Um, and that might be fine, actually. Um, let's talk about this a little further. So, before I go into my initial reaction, which was to consider um, making a use case that is like fetch incomplete tasks by date. Um, I was thinking, what if our UI had like maybe a sticky header or maybe some kind of header that is like things to do, these are done as another header, and then the items below it. Then it becomes a UI concern for how to display all the tasks. So I should say, hey, give me all of the tasks. Right, or there could be other filters. So I think it makes sense to still get all of the tasks and let the UI figure out how to render them accordingly. Um, so do I want to start doing that in this PR, or do I want to leave this PR strictly to the data layer? I might leave it at that. Let's leave it at this. Let's get one PR going for this, um, and then we'll do more. We're also going to need to update stream history before I forget, so let's do that. Yeah, I'm behind on the PRs for the past, but I'll get them in there. Stream 17. Well, okay. Well, hold on. Let me write this out, and then I'll clarify what I meant about the idea. To my path list screen, allowing the user to mark path as completed. Thing stream history. Oops. So my idea is like you're right. Like if I was filtering entirely, then yes, that's a domain layer responsibility. Um, but if it's not so much filtering as configuring the UI to show two items simultaneously, like that's UI logic. If I want to show incomplete header, incomplete tasks, completed header, completed tasks, like that's UI logic. That's a screen configuration. My domain layer is still give me all of the tasks. Or, well, specifically give me all of the incomplete and complete tasks, but because it's a Boolean, like just give me all the tasks. Um, in theory, it could be like, give me the tasks with this status or something like that. Um, adding domain and data logic to mark a task as complete. That one's not the same. um, adds a use case and updates repository to mark tasks as completed when done button is clicked. This is for, okay, labels. That can go under enhancement. This will go into task management, and we'll get that pull request going. So I think what I want to consider, just to start, is putting headers above each set of tasks. So let's start there. Let's start by adding the headers. Let's make an yeah. We'll just keep it. Let's make a new new branch for this, and let's call it words. Show task headers. Hey Raphael, how are you doing? We just got done working on the domain/data layer logic so that when I click the done button on a task, it gets marked as completed. And so now we're talking about updating the UI to show like incomplete and completed tasks together. Because right now they're lumped together, so let's try to separate them. So here's how I would do this. How would I do this? Let's start with task list, and let's talk about it, because this could be interesting. So we have a lazy column right now that shows me a list of tasks. Now, we could change this to cheers tracks. Okay, and right now, let's just collapse this. This shows, whoops, this line shows all of our tasks. So let's say I don't think I'm going to make it a sticky header. So let's just put an item here. Let's put an item and let's put some text, and we'll just say we're going to make this look nicer. And we'll talk about why or what specifically I want to make this nicer about this. But I want to type it out. And then we could have text, completed tasks, and then more items, right? So now the question is, well, should I have task list take two arguments, or should it do the partition itself? And I kind of think, so if I did this, uh, actually, I might have this backwards. Um, is the first list, okay, yes. So the way partition works is the first list is when the argument is true, and the second one is when the argument is false. So this is a cool way where I can say, like, split this task list into two based on this Boolean. So I'm going to get a list of completed tasks and a list of incomplete tasks. And I guess there's a question of whether or not this belongs inside the task list composable or not. And I think I'm iffy about the answer. I think initially I wanted to say no, because this filtering is like, we're used to thinking of filtering as like business logic. But on the other hand, like, I am saying this is a component that knows how to display incomplete tasks and completed tasks. So I just need to give it everything, and it knows how to configure it. Could this bite me in the future? Maybe. I would do it in the view model just to avoid the computation on the UI. Fair. Fair. I mean, yeah, you're not wrong in principle. I wanted to say the thing about like we're doing it in DAO because it could do it with indexes and make each list reactive. Also possible. Also makes sense. Um, I wanted to do the thing where I'm like, we're not dealing with a data set large enough, but I still care about principle, even if I'm not dealing with a large data set. So, like, I doubt any one user, even power users, are going to come in with a list of things in a given day that is so long that it can't be processed. But so we are using room and we are using flows. So let me reset this since we're not doing this. So our room DAO, uh, our task DAO returns a flow that emits every time um, words that the database changes. So it's not live data, but it is like a reactive data set. We'll get that update. So we could do it in the room DAO, but yeah, I mean, I guess you could have a lot of things to do in a day. That's fair. I underestimate the idea of people actually using my app productively. Um, okay, so let's talk about all the steps that it could happen. So we could put it in the DAO, and that would be kind of nice to have like database methods already set to filter between these two things. Um, yeah, you're right. I mean, we should always go by principle. So we could do it here. This is both, well, by virtue that like we're getting flows, we'll know that this is running sort of in the background. We could have the operations be running, inside of a coroutine. They're not going to hold up the main thread. Um, but we could also still have this, and then in our view model, where we're fetching where we launch a coroutine inside our view model to fetch tasks, or I guess we're not really launching a coroutine, but so here's, okay. So we're not launching a coroutine, we're observing this flow. Does on each run in, yeah, this is suspending. So this is going to be running in that coroutine scope that we called launch in. So I could do the computation here. Um, and I think this is still technically going to be running on the background. It's not going to block the UI thread at all. Um, it would just, I mean, theoretically, take the page a little longer to load if that partition took too long. Now, if I had two separate data streams, it's almost like it's faster because I could just render what I have when I have it. So if the incomplete tasks return super quickly and the completed tasks take a long time, I'll show what I get first. You're right, you're right. We wouldn't have to do the database could do the filtering itself and would be faster than me loading everything and parsing it myself. Okay. Okay. So let's run with that idea. So what we have now, let's consider renaming this. So let's fetch all incomplete tasks for a given date. We'll say get incomplete tasks for date use case. Android Studio's refactoring is very good. Um, but in order to do this, we also need to think, we'll want to change this. So this will be Fetch incomplete. Oh, yeah, I guess we could do that. Um, Wait, hold on. I don't know if that's true. Hold on. Because, so in our view model, then, in our view model, I would want to um, observe from two different flows, right? So could I use the same? I guess I can still use the same use case. I would just call it twice. Okay. Okay. God dang it. Let's reset again. Classic Adam trying to overcomplicate everything. Um, so we've got our date and we've got completed. So fetch tasks for the given date that are completed or not. Um, okay, let's start at our DAO. So we've got fetch task for date. We've also got completed as a Boolean here. And we could say and completed equals completed. Um, yep, that makes sense to me. Uh, we'll go to our prod use case here. Um, it always fetches completed, but if the Boolean is true, then it appends the incompleted too. I was thinking that, hmm, I wonder if there's a better name for completed here as as a thing, but um, this also needs to change. I have so many layers. I don't know if I would. No, I thought that's what you meant as well, but I was more thinking of would I want to put like a default argument inside the use case, and I don't know if that's what you're suggesting, but I feel like I shouldn't do that. I feel like I should be very explicit about what the use case is doing. And I shouldn't have like some default behavior that's overridden. I feel like the use case should expose what needs to be done, and the view model just say, hey, this is what I actually need. All right, so many layers here. But here's what I want to do real quick. Um, I want to update this to just be like true for now. Um, is there? There it is. Add names to call arguments. Um, and let's make sure that I can still compile. Give me one moment. Sorry. Want to make sure this is compiling, and then so this was a question that came up, and like, should my view model just depend directly on so much simpler to wrap Roomdeo in an interface and not have either repo slash use case because it's not a mutation. So it was similar to the conversation we just had about like principle. Like, sure, my use case here is kind of like redundant, and I could depend on like the room repo directly. But it was thinking ahead of like, well, what if I want to scale this to one day build like a backend for this application? What if I want to have both local and remote data store? And that's where like a repository pattern could be helpful. I think use cases sometimes are like unnecessary, especially just for pulling data, but it was something I wanted to try out and see how I liked it. It creates a little extra refactoring for things like we just did, but I kind of like the idea. Um, make a method in the. Oh my god. Don't make it that overcomplicated. Yeah. Maybe they will come to bite me in the future. Um, because I do have a hard time thinking about, like I said, I wanted to try it out, but I do have a hard time thinking about how I would, or any area where use cases around repository methods are helpful. Because if I change one, I'm almost always going to change the other. Um, like that's kind of my thought process. But did I run this? I wanted to run this as well, just to make sure this still. So this should show all of the. I guess by default, I set this to true. So if I run this, I should see just my completed task. Um, and then we'll update this to actually pull both tasks accordingly. Yep. Okay, that worked in showing just our one completed task. So what do we need to do next? Well, we talked about we want to pull the lists separately. So our view state, instead of having a list of tasks, we should have incomplete tasks and complete tasks. And let's change this. So what are we doing in here? Um, okay, so this was taking the result of fetching tasks and updating our view state. I need a way to tell it if um, so I'm thinking about using the same message for hmm. Uh okay, let's go back to the view state real quick. And I think we just made this a little more complicated than I wanted to. Um specifically around like we had this error message if something goes wrong. And then I started to think, well, by this design, like what happens if there's some error fetching incomplete tasks, but not the other? Like should we have an error message for each one? Um, I suppose that would be like the most um, configurable way to do it, but I don't know if a user would ever care. To the user, I don't know if the user would care that I can load one list and not the other. and if I would lump them into one error message or not. What do you guys think about something like that? Um, and then I only asked because, so the way this works now as well, um, so every time our selected date changes, distinct until changed, we call flat map latest, and then we fetch the tasks for that date. So we're basically going to basically copy this, but then we'll have it change to where on this flat map latest, we actually make a different call, but the on each is the same, or almost the same. But we're saying if we want to show a different error message, then I could duplicate this function and I could say, get view state for um, incomplete task list result. And then I could do the same thing for um, complete task list result. And then here we say completed tasks equals result that data. And then we have two different error messages. Let's try it out. I'm not sure I'm going to love this, but we'll see. I don't race conditions in the making. Definitely could be. Um, because yeah, hold on. We need to step back. We're over engineering this because we also have only a single loader. I really like the idea of just pulling the list. It would be so much simpler to just have way back when I said my composable should just do the partition, or have the partition happen in the view model, but not make it separate calls. Like, why do I need to observe two requests? I could now. Okay, right, but then where does right? But then where are we going to put the logic? So if the use case returns all of the tasks, where are we going to put the logic to then um, partition them into two lists for rendering on the UI? I think that's the question we started with. Where does that partitioning happen? And theoretically, the data source exposes both the complete and incomplete tasks. They attract the view model at state flow. I think I was so close to doing exactly what everyone is describing, though. But just thinking about weird, like possible race conditions, I guess. Um, so let me go back. So we've got this setup right here, which we could basically say is like that two that mutates the same property and potentially overwrites itself and erases new data with old data. Yeah. Um, this is a tricky problem. Why is it so much trickier than I thought it would be? Well, that's the stateflow part is fine, as far as I'm aware, um, because that's my overall state for the screen. We're saying, hey, we'll listen to these two other sources, so we could combine them whenever something happens. I don't know much about state in. Um, I don't know much about what this means or why I would need it. Yeah, I'm confused too. I feel like we're way over engineering this. So that was okay. So let's take a step back here. So we were really close to. Let's look at some simplified code here. Because at this moment in time, I can do this. I can do this. I could say, I can say this. So I can do this, right? I can get one flow for incomplete tasks just like this. And I can do the same thing for completed tasks. And again, we're looking at today, which is fine. Um, but isn't this is just bubbling up to the database? This goes through the use case into our room repository. This is going to write two queries to the database. So this is exactly what we were going for. We have two queries that are filtering from the Boolean in the database. There's several layers to it, but this is effectively what's going to happen here. So now just the question is mapping these into our current view state, um, which is fine. Um, it's more of just like thinking about like error scenarios that got this confusing, but I don't think it needs to be. I think we can do this. Let's let's get rid of that code real quick and let's walk through what this is doing. So we've got our view state. Every time the selected date changes, we start a new flow to get tasks for date use case for that new selected date. These are the incomplete tasks. Every time that happens, we update our view state with that incomplete task list result that's launched in ViewModel scope. So I'm going to extract this out and I'm going to say observe incomplete tasks for a selected date and fix my typo. Um, let's let's just make this private so I don't have to pass it around. Okay, so that's what that does. I'm going to take that exact same code and I'm going to call this observe completed tasks for selected date. This will change to true. This will say get view state for complete task list result. Um, change this typo for completed task list result. Um, And then again in it, we're going to say observe, if I could type, completed tasks for a selected date. So this will pull the incomplete and completed tasks separately, two different flows that update the same view state. I think I will need to make another change in order for this to work, but let's run this. It's okay. This is what I like about streaming. These are good conversations. We're having a fun paired programming session here. We're confused, but we're figuring it out together. Um, I think I know what's going on here. Um, let's go into task list content real quick. So when we create our task list, so this is a bug on my end. We're passing just the incomplete tasks. Um, let's do this. Let's, oh, so this was back when we had one list. We said if incomplete task is not equal to null, then we show the task list. But now I kind of need another separate thing here, which is like, do I want to put an and here? I'm going to put an and just to make it compile nicer, even though I think I should change this. But we're going to assume that we have both, just to make this compile real quick. What I want to do is I want to verify that this runs. Um, and incomplete tasks should always show before complete tasks. That's one way we could test this. No, feel free. But let me try something real quick. Let me try something real quick. So we're going to make newest task. Actually, will this show at the top? I don't know. Okay, so you see how when I marked that as complete, it went to the bottom? So we'll do this again. This one that I said don't complete this. If I mark it as done, it will move to the bottom. And this helps me understand that um, this is observing two different flows. It's combining both lists together, but it's observing incomplete task and completed task and combining them. So we're definitely on the right track here. Um, I see your question. Um, I would not write it that way. So the question was, isn't the use case supposed to return all the incomplete tasks regardless? I would say no. Um, what I was intending to capture with this use case is it fetches the tasks that um, where the completed, let me rephrase this. Fetch the task for the given date where the completed property of the task matches the supplied completed argument. So this is like a filter. And maybe that's what I should say. This will filter tasks both by date and by completed status. Tasks for a specific date and completed status. That's what this use case does. That's up to you. I will probably be streaming for another 2 hours, so there's plenty of time if you want to do so. But I will leave it up to you. Okay, let's commit some code. Observing two flows of tasks. And the next thing we will do is, um, what are my errors? Oh, our tests. Let's fix our test. Oh, that's probably why my last branch failed. I saw that the pull request on GitHub was failing. Hey, Calusi, how are you? We're having a fun night. Um, We're having some fun conversations, but it's all good stuff. All good stuff. I'm glad we're having these conversations. So let's kind of take a quick mental break real quick. So I can walk through it again if anyone wants to see it one more time. But the TLDR is that we are observing two flows from our database, one for the incomplete tasks and one for the completed tasks. Right now, our code is just combining them into one list and then showing them on the screen. In a moment, we'll modify our screen to differentiate between those two lists. Before I do that, I want to go to the pull request we made earlier, which is failing, and figure out why. And I think the answer is because I broke some unit tests and I did not update. So, just briefly, I'm going to go back to our first branch from tonight, and I'm going to fix those unit tests. Oh, and we've got Captain America. All right, hold on. Let me get this checked out. Um, and we'll run test and we'll let the compiler tell me what to fix. And I will be right back. Give me one moment. Well, as they say, the price of freedom is high, but it's a price I'm willing to pay. Thank you, Dan, for redeeming Captain America. Um, we will get right back into it. I do want to just briefly stop, and I love tweeting this out when this happens because I think this is great, and I want more people to come join. So, uh, oh my God, I typed too fast that Twitter can't keep up. There we go. Okay, so wait a minute. This is the wrong stream tracks. All right. So yep, let's get our unit test from the last PR passing again. So we'll just put in some default values for completed. These are for our test tasks. Did I get them all? Whoops, not this one. I used to have a shield. I need to get a new one. Um, oh, this is interesting. So our view model failed because we don't have. Oh, but we can do the same thing here. Hold on. Well, this gets renamed, and then mark tests as complete use case was prod mark test. We didn't write any tests for our new use case, but that's fine. Let's rename this as well then. Fake task repository. Fake task repository. And let's see if our tests pass on that old branch again. Hi, Ethel. Thank you for coming by. We are having, we've been having a great night. Um, very happy with the stream tonight. Um, but we are also right now we're just fixing up some unit tests for the open pull request, and then because I've changed these, I'll need to update these into my new branch. That's all fine. We can do that. I think our integration tests were still passing. They were. So if I can get these unit tests to pass locally, I'm just going to merge that pull request, and then I can update the branch that we're actively working on, and then we can start moving again. So, anyone get a chance to watch some of Android Worldwide yesterday? And which of the talks did you like and find interesting? I only got to watch one, which was the one about accessibility with Sierra O'Brien, and I thought that was really interesting. But I liked a lot of the other um, talk titles. I want to go back and find them eventually. You watched one but don't remember what it was. I feel like that's a hidden insult. Like, I would be upset if someone came to my talk and then said, I don't remember what it was. Ah, I understand. Um, KT Lint's wrong. Let's do KT Lint format. Oh, you know what? I also passively watched the Firebase one. But I had to leave for another like work meeting in the middle, so I didn't get to see it all the way through. Yeah, I really liked I kind of liked it. I haven't had a chance to tune into an Android Worldwide yet, but it seems like they're really well coordinated and organized. I think I'll try to submit a presentation the next time it comes around. Um, That'll be a lot of fun. I haven't done a conference talk in a while, even virtually. I mean, I stream every week, so that that is something. But I was just thinking the other day. Obviously, I miss a lot about. Thank you for the follow. I miss a lot about the world the last couple of years, but one of them is I miss being on a stage, presenting Android to people. Man, we made a lot of tests fail, or we broke a lot of tests. Why did I not? I'm now wondering why I never made like a test fakes class. Like, why did I make a new task every time? I don't know. But I'm glad we have a lot of tests. It's happening in April again. Okay, that's good to know. Have you watched any before yesterday's? Like, what do you think about them in general? Um, like, do you recommend them? Do you think next time I should dedicate more time to watching it? Why are we so slow? I think this is. I think this is working. So, or let's call it fixing test compilation because that's what we really did. And yeah, it looks like these are going to pass locally, so if they do, I'm just going to merge the pull request and sort out my other branch in a moment. If there was more of a networking aspect, that is one of the hardest things about running events digitally. I know that Android Worldwide was supposed to have some networking opportunities. I didn't get a chance to join any of them, like I said, but it's hard. It's a lot more difficult than a conference where you can talk to people while you eat lunch or like when you're walking in the hallways between presentations. You know, there's so many opportunities for networking at a conference, and you never know who you'll run into. Um, I've talked to so many people that like in the hallways of conferences that are like super well known within the community that I didn't even realize it. Um, you get a chance to talk to the organizers directly, which is really cool. Um, yeah, and like Trek said, like you can try virtually, but it's hard to get buy-in to stuff like that. Um, for any number of reasons, right? Not always on the fault of the organizers, but right, you can drop into other conversations. You just walk up to a table and eat your food and listen to what other people are talking about. Um, yeah, you get like to talk to other community members and like other speakers. Like the fact that you can just go up to a speaker after a conference and say, "Hey, I really enjoyed your talk," and like learn more about it. I think that's really cool, and I can't wait to get back to that. There's just nothing like it. I don't know if any of you got to go when there was briefly some events happening again. There was DroidCon Berlin and I believe also London that did happen. I heard those were really great from the people who did get to go. Um, okay, so we merged that pull request. Let's go back to our. Um, I think it was show task headers was the branch I was on earlier, and we're just gonna merge the last stuff. I'm gonna have a merge commit or merge conflict. Let's resolve that. Um, that Oh, this is interesting. We'll fix that after. Oh man, were you here last week when we had the whole conversation about people who fanboy over Jake Martin? It was a fun one. Um, I was very blunt about it was a fun conversation. We'll leave it at that. Um, no, I met Jake once too at Chicago Roboto, which was my first conference talk I ever gave, actually. Uh, he's really nice. Yeah, no, the thing about the fanboying was just like the problems of putting people on pedestals. You know, it's not always like the healthiest thing, um, and a whole bunch of other stuff. Uh, I think I can delete this file. I think this got wait, no, this just needs to get a name change. That's good. Um, let's run our test on this branch as well. We'll say for any. Um, No, and it was so what back and forth is like it's not always like it's not the fault of the individual that people idolize, and it's not always at the fault of the people who do idolize the person. And it's sometimes very hard to separate like the two. Like I was very clear, like Jake Martin has contributed incredible things to the Android community, and I don't want to diminish any of his work at all. But some of the ways I see people talk about him and everything is just like I don't know. I don't think it's healthy for communities to idolize people in that way all the time. Um, and it's like I don't know where the line is. Like I think it's good to have community leaders. I think it's good to look up to and be inspired by people. I try to inspire other people, But I feel like there just becomes a line where it becomes unhealthy and like starts to lose accountability. Because if someone has built the backbone of Android tooling, right, if they've got all these incredible tools out there and everyone views them as like the end all be all decision maker on certain topics, then it bleeds into whatever they say goes. And it also means they can say whatever they want about other things and get away with it. You know, the closest thing I relate it to is like, how often have athletes gotten a pass on terrible behavior because they help your sports team win? And it's like tech communities do the same thing. And that's not like Jake Ryan has done anything that I'm like criticizing him for. It's just like that's the territory we get into, and I don't want that to happen. You know, like I would love to inspire people. I also want to always be held accountable for what I say and not be like, oh, Adam can do whatever because he streams. Yeah, I'm rambling at this point, um, but because it's a it's a complicated conversation. Um, these tests fail. These tests failed, and I think the reason is because of the way we changed our view state. So because I modified my fake repository to always just return like the same thing for a completed and incompleted, um, I think I can just do this. Yeah, let's rename this completed tests. Um, click previous date. Should also be add that and then click next date. Um, we're also assuming that we basically just have the same task list in both. That's the way our test is going to work. It stands for tasks of affirmation. Let me type this out. So the idea that we have not gotten to yet in the like 17 streams, I have not had a chance to emphasize this enough, but I wanted to make a time of Captain America. I wanted to make a task management application that's like wholesome and uplifting. So I didn't want to make it so that it's like this overbearing responsibility where you feel like you have all these things to do. I wanted to make it so it's like warm and inviting to stay organized, something that provides like kind-hearted messages when you complete a task. Um, Being very conscious of like if we ever get to notifications, not nagging the hell out of people. Or like one thing I way earlier I talked about this like even though I'm calling them like incomplete tasks within the code base, that's different language that I would want to put like on the app because like incomplete tasks just screams like failure to me. And it's like how do we make it so that we're not scaring people out of getting doing the things that they need to do, you know? So instead of being like, hey, this task is overdue by a month, what if the app was like, do you need help completing this? Or like, could you break this down into smaller chunks? Like, what if we could offer like words of affirmation to getting things done? Um, yeah, exactly. So that's the idea. Right now, we've been so focused on getting some functionality in place, but I want to add more of that concept in the future. Okay, our tests are still failing. Let's run them and let's look at the debugger about what is broken here. Um, Interesting. So in all of our tests, the incomplete tasks property is null, but the completed task is not. Cheers. Let's go to our view model and let's make sure I didn't make a mistake in here, which I'm betting I did. Nope, this is it. Oh, I know why. So when we start this request, when I'm saying I'm doing this view state.value.copy, show loading is true, incomplete tasks is null. But here we're saying we're fetching completed, so I want to null out completed tasks here until the date comes back. Let's try this again. Good catch, an actual, I guess, kind of bug that we could have been facing there. Um, Once we get this working, we could also I think we could get a little fancier about our words, about our flow handling here, closer to something that we talked about earlier, but I'm not going to overcomplicate it just yet. But we've got these two functions that are almost identical, and I can't stop myself from thinking that we could combine them somehow. But let's get something working before we try to make it even more um, complicated. Okay, so fixing a bunch of tests. Oh, this was just the merge and test fixing, so let's push this. And now we can update our UI to have headers, finally. We're getting there. So to do that, um, let's talk about this. So we have a task list composable that is a lazy column that shows a list of tasks. Um, we can't, at least right now, compose doesn't have the idea of like nested. You can't put two lazy columns together. I mean, I guess I could, but I still think I want one lazy column for all the information. So what we need to do is we want to change this constructor to have our incomplete tasks and then our completed tasks. And without thinking about empty states, which we still haven't, there's a ticket for this, let's throw a quick hack together. Let's throw in an item. Do I want to use sticky headers? I don't know. Let's avoid that for right now. Let's put some text and we'll just say, um, again, I don't like the language, but I'm just going to type something in just to get this to like render, and then we can play around with how it should look in the future. So we show incomplete tasks, and then we add the list. Let's do that same thing, but here we'll put completed tasks, and then so this isn't going to look pretty, but we can at least see a rendering of what should happen here. Um, let's do incomplete tasks. For our preview, we'll do the same thing. We'll do like 5 of each. Here we'll say true, and so now we can also put in our completed tasks. So that fixes that compose preview. Um, I don't think I can build yet. I think other parts of the app are still going to fail, namely like this one. Um, so this is a little weird. We made the tasks, the task lists, we made them nullable. So I can't just do this. I think what I'll do is I'll just do or empty, but so this isn't going to work because if we're in a loading state, I don't want this list to be there at all. Um, Maybe it's that simple. Maybe I can just say if not view state that show loading, add the task list. let's do that for now. Um, let's see where this gets us. Um, okay, so we see the header. There are no incomplete tasks, so nothing is there. But then we see our completed ones. So if we add in a new task, new y'all, new task, it's there. All right, so this is step number one. We have headers. Um, great, let's commit this. So this looks good. Let's let's clean up some of the UI structure here. Like this should be bigger. Um, well, this can be a string resource. We can say incomplete task header. Um, this will be completed tasks header. Um, we also should give these a style. Um, let's do material theme dot typography. Uh, headline small, headline medium. Let's see how that looks. Um, that's going to be the same for both. Let's extract this out into its own composable. I'm going to make this um, we're going to call this section header, and this will have some text, which will be a string, and so we'll pass that in. So this, we just have one place to change the style or any other information about the header. So we take this and we type in here section header. Was that? And then the same thing here. We're going to take that string resource and we're going to make this a section header and pass in the string resource. Um, now let's run it again and let's see what this looks like. We also had a build fail. Ooh, magic number. Why? Oh, we'll just suppress that because that's in a preview. Ooh, can I? I think I need to look into this. I think compose, or not, I'm sorry, I think detect recently added like a global attribute where you can say like ignore all detect rules for functions annotated, or for every rule you could say like ignore annotated, and I could basically say like any method annotated with preview, we could suppress magic number. I think that's a thing. I'll look into that in a second. Um, but for right now, this is what we've got. Um, headline medium looks kind of large. So let's change our section header to do headline small. And let's see what that looks like. Okay, a little better. It's not the prettiest UI, but it's one that works. Um, so I will take that win. And let's just test our logic one more time. Um, we make a new task, we mark it as done, it gets moved to the bottom. So, da, 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 da. Nice. Everything looks good. So let's briefly look at that detect thing I talked about. So if I run detect right now, Um, this should be yelling at me because of the magic number. So if we go into our detect.yaml file, here we could see the configuration for magic numbers. I could also say like ignore 5. So anywhere I use 5 as a magic number, it's ignored, but I want to see if I can just add this ignore annotated onto magic number. Um, I'm gonna have to check what the new thing is, but I think that was it. Okay, no. Ignore annotated. It's misspelled or does not exist. Um, see if we can find the answer. Um, nope, this was another one. Let me look at their change log. Um, I know they have one. Okay, so with 1.19, let's see what our detect version is. Oh, well, that's part of it. We're on an old detect version. So let's, um, yeah, we now offer an ignore annotated configuration key that you can use on all your rules to suppress findings if inside an annotated block, e.g. composable. Um, for magic number, I wouldn't actually want it to be, now that I think about it, I wouldn't want it to be composable, I would want it to be preview. Because I still want to make sure that in a standard composable, I still do not use magic numbers in my code base. So let's try this. You could make one, yeah. I'll look it over. I won't guarantee I'll merge it, but I'll look it over. Or if I do, I can look at it like next week on stream. Because I try not to make code changes that aren't recorded, because that's the whole point of this. What did I do here? Was that all I did? Um, oh yeah. Um, file cleanup, ignoring a magic number in previews. I think I actually have ideas on how I can. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, do it. Do it. I would love to look at it. Um, I think I'm gonna go ahead and make a pull request on that work that we just did. Let's do that. Um, and then maybe I'll wait to see what CP does before I play around with my other idea. Um, oh, so you know how sometimes I do, what did I put in there as the thing? So you know how sometimes I do, or I have the cube solve one, which is like I will solve a Rubik's Cube and I let chat predict how fast I can do it. Um, my other one was trying to do a typing test and letting chat predict whether or not I could go over or under 140 words per minute. But we've got a cube solve first, so we'll do that one. Sorry, Trax, let me make the pull request before it escapes me, and I can let the GitHub Actions run, and I will get the prediction going in a second. Showing headers on task list. Shows a header above and the incomplete and completed task sections for number 17. This will be, what is this? This is an enhancement. This goes under task management project. Yeah, we'll set up the prediction in a moment. Let me do that. Uh, start a prediction. Um, oh, wait. Okay, we'll do. I got it, Prince. I got it, Prince. Last time Prince did it, he made it like a 10-minute long prediction. All right, you've got 2 minutes to vote. While you do, I will get the cube timer set up. And let's get our mic over here. Where's my Rubik's Cube? Found it. What do you mean it was my fault? Oh my god. Do you predict 2 minutes? What? You don't trust me. Look at this. My average. Okay, my average, in case this influences any of you, is 30.42 seconds. I also have not solved this probably since like last week. Um, so I might be a little rusty. Who knows? It's just all the fun. Bernie says that's totally valid. Don't listen to anything I say. Okay. You want a 5 second look ahead counter? Tell you what, I will say that I'm done with my look ahead. I cannot look that far ahead anyway, so I really just plan out like 3 or 4 moves. Um, hey, look, I got a Netlify ad. All right, predictions are in. Oh my God, y'all have uh, y'all have a lot of faith in me tonight, and some of you who are hoping. Yes, it's just gambling. So you will either lose the points or you will get a bunch more channel points, which will make it even easier to redeem Captain America in the future. All right. Prediction is set. Okay. Um, oh man, I'm gonna sweat. I'm gonna sweat. Okay. Wait. Oh no. Oh no. I'm already messing up. What am I? Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. I'm not counting this. I'm not counting this. My finger slipped. I'm not counting that. And I like threw myself off way too much. Okay. Okay. We're good now. We're good now. A warm up? Maybe I should do a warm up. That should be a thing. No, no, no. We're ready. We're ready. God, I'm so out of practice. Oh my God. Yep, I'm so out of practice. Oh man. I should have taken y'all up on the warm up. Y'all had way too much faith in me. Oh my God. Ugh, 18K channel points. That's a lot. For someone who streams once a week, that's a lot of channel points. Yeah, but y'all had so much faith, so a bunch of you want a ton of channel points. All right. Someone remind me, next time I'll do a warm up because I guarantee you if I do it right now, my next one's going to be so much faster. Oh man, no, I'm just out of practice. I can't do this anymore. What am I doing? I made like three mistakes there. I forgot how to solve a Rubik's Cube. That's what happened. I'm washed. I don't know what to tell y'all. Um, the typing test I was gonna do. So no one has redeemed this yet. So let me show you. I think this. Shout out to Matt McKenna for suggesting this website. Um, this is typings.gg, and it basically just gives you like a classic typing test, and it records like your words per minute and accuracy. So I didn't know that like I thought like because I worked on computers all the time, I typed really fast, and so I started doing this with some friends, and I found out I typed very fast. So let's just see what we can get here. Oh my god. Oh my god. I guess I can't do this under pressure. Okay, 120 is still pretty good. And 120 being like my nervous warm up. So if y'all will humor me, I want to try one more now. Ooh, 131. I got an entire 10 extra words and 100% accuracy. Just want to make sure y'all saw y'all y'all see this. Oh wow, this is actually way easier to read too. Yeah, and I'm on like the like shitty Magic keyboard that has like the small keys and everything. So I did the 250 word one once, but that thing is a freaking like that thing is a marathon. Um, this would take me like this would just take me a long time to type out. It would hurt. It hurts so bad. I did one once though. Um, but it's pretty cool. There's even like a sprint one. Oh my god, I'm already bad. Oh my god, see, can't do it. I get nervous. But like I used to do these all the time. I used to just do them over and over and over again. And I've done some that are like the longer words and still consistently gotten like 140, 150 words per minute. But I'm not nearly as fast when they start introducing like punctuation. If it's strictly words though, they're a lot of fun. Anyways, yeah, so that's that. No one's ever redeemed one. I guess it's not as fun to watch as the Rubik's Cube, but that's like my weird flex, but okay sort of thing. Is I could type really fast. Let's look at why this pull request failed. Because I didn't update stream history. Let's do that. I mean, 90 is good. And just like with a Rubik's Cube, like being able to solve a Rubik's Cube is good. Um, like it's something to be proud of. I just like flexing, but typing fast don't stop those bugs. You know what? You're right. You're right. Well, you found something I can't do. I can't do that. I can't move my ears without touching them, unless this counts. Um, I'm just checking to see if I had other weird stuff that I have tons of weird little hobbies and habits, I guess. But typing and Rubik's cubes are big ones. Also, there's some new folks here, so I'm going to plug this again as I did at the beginning of the stream. But um, it's public, so you should be able to make a pull request. If you make a fork and make a pull request. But if you can't, just send it to me on like whatever social platform we're friends on, and I'll take a look at it. And it's something we can talk about again next week. Um, but there is, so let's talk about a brief idea I had to combine these two ideas, pun intended. Um, I want to take this code again, and um, I want to revisit this mapping and what I was thinking. So I'm wondering. So we've got our view state. We map that to the selected date until it changes. And then, so every time our date changed, we flat map it to a new flow. And so I'm wondering, we can null out both our things. Um, we could have our incomplete task flow will be this. Our completed task flow will be this. And then could we like just map this to incomplete task flow dot combine um, completed task flow? Felix, thank you for the follow. But combine takes, I also need a transform. And so this would be something like this. And then here we could like map the view state. And then I only have just this one call that will then combine them both. Um, that might be a little nicer. It gets a little trickier if like one of these is a failure, again, like we talked about earlier, but um, it could look a little, I think this would look a little nicer. Um, let's try this out real quick. So what we'll do here is let's do this. We'll do view state that um, I'm just thinking if I want to how I want to do this. I want a method like this. So let's do this. Get view state for task list results. This would be more than one. We could have our incomplete task list result, and we could have our completed task list result. But the thing here is now our when statement doesn't make a ton of sense, but we could do we could say, we could do a when, and we can say incomplete task list result is success, and completed task list result that is result.success. So if both are successful, then uh, we can set our tasks. But then we can just say otherwise, if one of them failed, let's show something went wrong. This isn't going to be the granular user friendly. I'm also going to make this a new branch real quick. Um, so it's not as like granular as like if I want to tell the user one failed over the other, but that handles both. So we can get rid of this extra one now. Let's get rid of both of these. And then, yeah, so I'm going to extract this out to say, clear tests and show loading is what's going to happen here. Then we get our incomplete task flow, our completed task flow, and then we combine them. And then we say viewState.value equals. Oh, wait, hold on. Does this return? This returns a new flow. What if I don't want to put anything in the transform? What do I get here? Oh, it's just unit. I need to put something here. Can I just like pass the pair of tasks through the transform? Um, can I do that? I think I can. I think we're onto something here. Yep. Okay, this works. It compiles. Let's refactor some namings here real quick. This is actually incomplete task list result, and this is completed task list result. Um, Same thing here. That's rename that. And this is actually get view state for task list results. So now this observes a little nicer. And this is less code. So let's run this real quick and let's make sure it still behaves correctly. Um, and I'll merge it into this branch if it does. This build has taken a while. Sorry, not sure what's up with that one. What is this take? This one's taken so long. Not really sure what happened to that. Um, oh my God. But while that's running, I guess we can Let's check in on this one, see how this is doing. Okay, everything passed. The UI tests are still running. Those should pass. We need to write more of those. We haven't done a lot of those in the app. That is another one, another YouTube idea I've had is some videos around Compose UI testing. But um, did I ever finish? I know I meant to, and I think I got distracted by the coding and the cubing and the typing. But um, since there's some of you who are here now who were not here at the beginning, in case you missed it, I came out with a new video on Monday, which is the Imposter's Guide to Dependency Injection. It's a short video where I try to take that super complicated topic and break it down to its core fundamentals and introduce it in super small incremental steps to try to make it a topic that is just far less intimidating than I've seen it taught in the past and how it felt when I was learning it. So I would love it if everyone got a chance to watch it. I would love to hear your feedback on that video. And then if you have any ideas of other topics that you think would benefit from that kind of approach, one I'm getting a lot that I plan to do is unit testing. But if there are other like Android topics that every time you hear them, you like freak out, like let me know. I would love to learn them, see if I could find a way to break them down into little baby steps and make other videos like that. So, and if you're not subscribed to the YouTube channel, go subscribe to the YouTube channel. That's my pitch. I won't make you do it, but okay. Our app is running again, so it appears to be working. Let's just add a few, make sure it works. So, yep, that goes into incomplete tasks. We mark it as done, it updates. So actually, this does appear that we were able to reduce some of the code by every time the date changes, we get flows of incomplete and completed tasks. We use combine to convert that into flow, one flow that emits with each result each time, and then we use that to update the view state accordingly. That's much nicer. So let's this and say using combine on flow. That will also need a stream history update. Combining flows. And I'll need to make sure to send this to the person who was the other person who was helping me resolve this earlier. Cool. Well, we've got like 45 minutes left, which is a decent amount of time. Enough time for us to consider tackling one other idea, if anything. Let's see here. Combining flows for task list groups. I don't know, that's what we'll call it. So instead of two methods to observe each flow, we use the combine method to get one flow every time a section changes. This can go under, I guess this is a refactor, so let's throw the tech.net label on that one. This is still task management project. And I think also we can go to, let's edit this real quick actually. So we can go into number 17, allow user to complete a task, and I think I'm going to mark that as done. Yes, I'm going to mark that as done. Or close issue. You know, I've heard that. You're not the first person to say that they like having the stream as background noise, and I definitely get that. Like, I've watched other coding streams throughout the day, and there's something about just like having something there that it's like, I don't know. I don't know what it is. But I've heard that before. You know what else I've heard this? So I've also pitched this before. Some of y'all know I really like watching Cracking the Cryptic on YouTube, which is a YouTube channel where they solve really unique handcrafted Sudoku puzzles and other sort of pencil puzzles, but pretty much Sudoku. And this has come up on their channel before where they've gotten similar feedback about people who have found the channel helps reduce anxiety and has helped them get better sleep. And they've reached out to some people to try to understand why that is. And there's something around the psychology of things that are just like repetitive yet like mildly interesting that like work your brain a little bit without having to like stress on it so hard. And it's yeah, it's really it's really interesting because I also feel that like my lunch habit every day when I make lunch is I like turn off my Slack notifications and I put on the day's cracking the cryptic video and I just watch them solve Sudoku puzzles and I'm just like it's so mesmerizing, both in like the way, and I think part of it that is the same is I find myself mimicking a lot of their mannerisms. Like they are so good at clearly explaining their thought process to how they solve it. They're not just like, oh, this is a two. They're like walking through why, like based on what they saw on the grid. If it wasn't like strict Sudoku rules, like you have two in one column and one in the other, you're like, ah, it goes here. Like usually their puzzles are way more complicated, and they walk through. Yeah, let me find it. I think it's just cracking the cryptic. Yeah, so this is their YouTube video. Um, what I would do, uh, so if, okay, so bear with me, y'all. One moment. This video is 25 minutes long, but if you convince yourself, give this video 7 or 8 minutes to captivate your attention, and let me know what you think because this this Sudoku puzzle is outstanding. Um, this has, you can see it has 3 million views on it. And what's really funny, whoops, I need to go back. What's really funny about it is the person opens it and he's been told he can't open the puzzle until he starts streaming, right? And he opens it and this is the grid. And it's just got 2 digits in it. And he thinks he's being pranked. But he says, I'll give it like 5 minutes to see if I can figure it out because the rule set is really unique. There's a rule set like any two cells separated by a knight's move or king's move in chess cannot contain the same digit. And no two orthogonally adjacent cells can be consecutive digits. So all of a sudden, like this becomes super interesting. Thank you for the cheer. So like let me show you just briefly, like again, how this becomes super impactful and why that rule set is really interesting. It's because like if we consider this one, and where does it go in the middle, right? So it can't go here by normal Sudoku rules. It can't go here because in chess, that's diagonal, that's like a king's move constraint. In the knight's move constraint, it can't go here or here because both are 2 squares over and 1 square down from the one. And then because of the non-consecutive rule, you can't put a 1 right here. So you have another digit. And this slowly starts to unfold to eventually this solves into a completely unique Sudoku puzzle. And it's just like, the longer you watch it, as you watch him, each time he gets a new number, it's like, oh my god, it's one of the coolest videos I've ever watched. Because then here we do it again. So now we've got 1 here, 1 here. This can't be a 1, or this can't be a 1 because it's next to a 2. So we have another 1. And then 2 has a similar thing. You can't put 2 in any of these squares, or this one, or this one. So all of a sudden you get the 2s. And then here is where he's like, he kind of stops here. And he's like, this can't go any further. And yet, you look at like, well, where do you put the 2 in row 3? It can't go in any of these spots because of Sudoku. It can't go here because that's a knight's move away. These two are a king's move away from that one. This is a knight's move away from that one. And all of a sudden, you can't narrow it down yet, but you've narrowed down another two in this entirely empty box just by this really unique constraint. And I'm not going to spoil it. Like, you can watch it and see, like, there are even crazier moments than this, but it was like, oh my God, this was mind blowing. So, this was back in May of 2020. So, they they started before the pandemic, but when the lockdowns hit in the UK, where Mark and Simon are located, um, they yeah, like it went viral, and they started doing two videos a day while the UK was in lockdown. Each one of them released a Sudoku puzzle, but they got so popular that to today, up until today, they still release two videos every day, in addition to tons of content over on Patreon and stuff. Oh, and actually, while I'm plugging them, um, they did a Kickstarter a while ago where they made a physical book of like their favorite Sudoku puzzles that have been featured on the channel, and it's actually very cool. It has like incredibly like mesmerizing artwork and stuff. Um, because what makes their puzzles interesting is they're handcrafted. So, a computer could generate a Sudoku puzzle for you to solve. And if you download like a Sudoku app on your phone, that's probably what you're going to get, right? But because these are like handcrafted, they have very specific solving paths. So it's like very elegant, like you do this and then you do this. You're not just randomly searching for numbers. Like each step leads into the next one. And it can just be like literally all the way down until the very end of the puzzle. It's just very elegant. I love watching it. Can't sell them enough. Um, so I hope y'all check them out if that interests you. Um, ooh, and I see CP. It looks like you made a pull request. Um, so let's look at that in a moment. Let us look at the task list. Okay, let me take a look at it in a moment. I'm going to squash this one for the showing the headers. Um, and then this combining flows. Why did this fail? Ah, we've got conflicts. Let's resolve those. Um, I'm not sure why this failed, but let me get the actions running again, and then I'll look at your pull request. Oh, shoot. What happened here? I think I know what I can do here. Let's see if I can do this without opening my IDE. It will be a miracle if I do. I think this is it. Wait, nope, hold on. Where's my else? Okay, I think I did it. We'll find out. Um, wait, why didn't I? Oh, did you close it? Did I close it? Oh, did you close it just to showcase it? Um, okay, I see. So this was your idea of instead of having the invoke fetch one or the other, you can optionally append completed tasks. Okay. And so incomplete tasks flow, right? Um, if append completed tasks, we merge them, else incomplete tasks. So we use combine transform. I see. And then you add incomplete, incomplete. And then you do the partition here when the result happens. Okay, this makes sense. This was what I was really close to doing. Um, Maybe that's a little nicer then, because then the combined logic happens inside inside the use case. Huh. I wonder if we can do this. And I think we could do this. We could do that. Um, anyone who watches this. Oh, whoops. Okay. I see. It got deleted because I merged something. Um, I'm gonna feel bad for anyone on YouTube who watches this whole video only for us to end up with code that's almost where we started with. But maybe if you made it this far, you learned something along the way. Um, let's. Okay. We'll try that out. Well, wait. Should I remove this one then? Is this one technically? Maybe I don't merge this one. Um, because maybe I do. Okay, let's do this. Let's try your idea out real quick because I do have. What time is it? Yeah, I have another 30 minutes, so let's use that to try out this idea. Let's do. Let's say move combine into use case. So let's go back to our get tasks for date use case. So I did like the idea of append completed, but let's assume for now that let's assume for now that I'm just going to want all the tasks for the date. So yeah, this will go back to literally where we started. We're going to fetch all tasks for a given date. Um, but here we'll go back to your pull request. I want to see what the method was called. Nope, that's not the right one. Um, there was combined transform. Yeah. Um, okay, so um, ooh, okay, this else. Let's talk about this. This else is not, I don't think is 100% correct. We'll talk about it. So we're gonna have our incomplete task flow. This will be task repository dot fetch tasks for date. Completed equals false. No, no, it's no problem at all. Um, completed task flow will be task repository dot fetch task for date. Date completed equals true. So we're going to do return incomplete task flow. What is the difference between what's the difference between combine and combine transform? Do you have like a TLDR on that? I guess it's with combine you return what you want, with combine transform you omit what you want. Yeah, I think that's the key differentiator is the omit, because it mentions here transform is a generic function that may transform emitted elements, skip it, or emit it multiple times. With combine, you have to return something. But here we could choose to skip something for any reason. Um, so let's do this. So So we've got incomplete, incomplete. No, I appreciate it. It's great background noise. Go get some sleep. Thank you for stopping by. I appreciate it as always. So if incomplete is result.success, oops, and complete is result.success, then here we'll do result.success, incomplete.data plus complete.data, and then emit result. But otherwise, so what you did here is we emit each one, but I think we just need to emit one. Like we could just do emit result.error. Um, I don't really have, we could just say error requesting paths for date. Um, that's what I would do here. Ideally, I bubble up the actual error from like each task or something, but I agree. Um, I agree, but so the thing is like, but then upstream, if we look at our view model now, well, the view model needs to get updated to, let's do that. Um, one moment. So let me get rid of a bunch of stuff here. So if we do this, um, the problem is like, sorry, hold on. In this error block right here, I don't really know if it was an error fetching. I don't really know which error it was, whether it was incomplete or complete. And if I do this emit twice, like in your example, then I mean, well, I guess it's just the way my code is, it's being handled twice. But I understand where you were coming from, that ideally I would want to know what the actual error is. I'm gonna put a note about that, but I'm gonna break practice for right now to just say like ideally we admit or emit one of the actual errors that occurred. Um, but for now we can just say something went wrong. But I like where your head was at there. Um, so then in here we need to do our partition. So uh, result.data.partition. So this will be incomplete. Um, okay, let's run this. And another thing I might try to do, so I think, so this should be called in a suspending function, but because this does some data manipulation, I feel like I should specify that this has to be suspending. Um, is this redundant? I thought. I mean, I guess it's redundant because, yeah, okay. I guess it's redundant because I'm not actually launching anything. I could. Um, oh, I know what I did wrong. My partition is backwards. It's true first, so complete, incomplete. This should do it. Yep, this looks good. Awesome. Thank you for the recommendations there. Let's commit this. Um, using the combine inside use case. So what a long stream to go in a bunch of circles, but we got something working. Closing this in favor of putting code inside the use case. The line between incomplete and complete flows into our use case. Um, check that. This will go into task management. Let's get that going. I think I'll need to update the stream history file on here. Uh, yeah, combining flows. Okay. Updating stream history. All right, and with that, we got a lot of stuff done tonight. Um, we have, it doesn't look like a lot on the UI front because we just have these two headers and these two groups, but it was kind of fun to learn about setting up flows for each of the two data sources that are here, um, being able to update them in real time. I think next week we should definitely work on the empty states, both for like the whole day, but also it would be cool to show like maybe we remove the incomplete section, maybe we show like a card that says, "Hey, like you have you did everything today. Congratulations." Um, that could be a fun thing to do, but this will run. So let's switch over to here. Thank you again, everyone, for joining me this week. Thank you to the new followers. We had a few new followers this week. Thank you, Brown Lamb, for the 100 bits. Thank you, CP, for helping words for helping me with flows. I'm sorry that I was terrible at Rubik's Cubes today, but shout out to those of you who earned insane channel points. I am going to see if there's anyone worth rating. If no one else is doing. Lando is not streaming tonight, which is weird. Um, it's Wednesday. He usually does. But I do have another science and tech streamer I follow who is Coco Type. They do some iOS development. So why don't we go hang out with the other crowd and see what Coco Type is up to? Um, and yeah, but yeah, some of you can go sleep, but I'll get that raid going real quick. Um, where are they at? Yes, we will start the raid to Coco Type. And yeah, I will see y'all around. See you on Twitter. See you here next week. Thank you again for stopping by. 1 second. All right, and we're going to go raid. See y'all.